On Commissioner Marshall for the invocation and the pledge.
Dear Lord, we'd like to thank you for this day, the day that we've never seen. Thank you for blessing us and our families to be here. We thank you for the citizens who came to participate in their local government. Dear Lord, we'd like to say a prayer for those who wanted to be here but could not. We pray that you continue to bless Lowndes County and shine upon our citizens, and that we do the right things for your will and in your name. And dear Lord, we'd like to say a special prayer for the Slaughter family and their all of the relatives, and we pray that you give them peace and comfort during this time of bereavement. We'd like to thank you for blessing us with their presence while we had it. We'd also like to thank you for those who have shown their support to the family. Dear Lord, we'd like to say a special prayer for our staff who conduct the day-to-day business for the county and the citizens on our behalf, and that you continue to give us wisdom as we continue to do what is right for this county. And dear Lord, I'd like to thank you for showing us grace and mercy and giving us strength and patience to do what we do on a daily basis. All these blessings we ask, and I thank you in your Son Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. Our first order of business, Ms. Dukes, we have our medical first responders license recognition with SGMC Emergency Medical Services and the Lowndes County Fire and Rescue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. I would like to introduce Ms. Emily Brown. She has spearheaded this initiative. I could try to explain it to you. She is going to do a far better job. So, Emily, if you would like to come up and talk to the Commissioners as far as where we are, and then we'll get a photo before you sit down. And while she's coming up, I do want to recognize that we have Chief Green here tonight. We have Captain Jeff Talley, who is our resident medical expert, and we are very blessed and grateful for his leadership and glad to have him. And then we have Assistant Chief Gary Williams here. So, gentlemen, thank you for being here. While Emily is making this happen for the entire community, we would not have been as prepared to receive what she was offering from South Georgia Medical Center without Captain Talley. So, Jeff, I'm very grateful for your contribution there. Thank you. Emily?
Thank y'all very much for having me tonight. Just to kind of piggyback on what Paige said, we very much appreciate at South Georgia Medical Center the leadership that was shown to us during this process from Captain Talley, Chief Young, Chief Green, and Chief Williams there at Lowndes County. This was actually a very fun project to work on. They made it that way. They were super easy to work with, and this is a extremely great benefit for our community. I'm sure you're all aware that for many years that the county fire service, as well as all the paid fire services here in Lowndes County, have supplemented SGMC with helping to respond to certain medical calls. So our code blues, our bad accidents, fire calls obviously, and then whenever we don't have a ambulance where they are able to go to a call, our fire service, because they are licensed EMS agents, would respond to those calls. They were personally licensed themselves. So what we've done is gone through the Department of Public Health with the state of Georgia, and we have your fire service now licensed as a dual agency. So they are a non-transporting medical first responder agency that's licensed through DPH in Georgia. Because of that, there are certain requirements that they have to continue to maintain as far as the equipment on their trucks, the licensure level of the personnel, and as well as the training requirements that they're required to have. And because we share a medical director for South Georgia Medical Center, as well their EMS, as well as Valdosta Fire Department, Lowndes County Fire and Rescue, and Hayhira, we're able to consolidate all of our policies and our protocols on scene and provide a very continuous level of care for the patient from the time that the first person arrives until the time they get to our emergency room. So they're trained the same way, and from as far as our medical stuff goes, we do joint training, and one physician signs off on all of that. So that's the benefit to it, is the continuity of care for the patient, as well as the benefit for us to be able to collaborate between all of the agencies and do joint training. My job at the hospital is the trauma program manager, so from a trauma perspective, that certainly is going to aid us in continuing our pursuit of our trauma designation. That's something that's huge for us for our trauma application. So again, we very much appreciate the support of the board. We appreciate the support of Paige and everybody out at Lowndes County. There was never any hesitation to this, and it made something that could have taken a long time. You know, we were able to get it done in just a couple of months. So.
Well, good. I'd just like to say, certainly, chiefs, staff, I want to thank y'all for your efforts and for your pursuit of your training that's needed to be able to be in this position so that South Georgia Medical Center could make this offer, because it is going to be huge to our citizens out there in emergency care, where you will be able to provide some care for those citizens on a timely manner. And so again, I want to thank you and appreciate what y'all do. But certainly, Ms. Brown, we want to thank you and your efforts to bring all this together so that it will be a positive cooperation. It's amazing at what you can do when you really try to work together to resolve an issue. And so this is a fine example of that. So thank you very much. And please, we'll have an opportunity with the remaining part of the hospital administration and staff and folks to thank them as well. So again, great job. Thank you very much.
If you all would like to go down for a photograph, gentlemen, if y'all would join Emily.
And Ms. Browning, before we get the photo, this is a little token of our appreciation for your efforts from the staff and the Lowndes County Commissioners. So thank you, absolutely. Thank you. Now, Commissioners, inside your packet, you should be able to find your minutes for the work session of June the 27th and the regular session minutes of June the 28th. If there are no additions, deletions, or corrections that needs to be made, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. And Mr. Ornstein, I want to just give you a special thank you for chairing these two meetings for me while I was unavailable. So thank you very much for that.
Certainly.
Agenda item 7A is appointment to the Hospital Authority of Valdosta and Lowndes County. Ms. Dukes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We actually have two appointments for your consideration this evening. The term that is currently held, or the seat currently held by Dr. Brian Greiner on the Hospital Authority of Valdosta and Lowndes County will expire on August the 1st of 2022. The authority has submitted the names of Dr. Brian Greiner, Mr. Bo Levin, and Ms. Suzanne Mathis for consideration. All three individuals have expressed an interest in serving. Also, the second term is the seat held by Dr. John Roan, and it will also expire on August the 1st of 2022. And the authority has submitted the names of Dr. John Roan, Mr. Hayden Hancock, and Ms. Suzanne Mathis for consideration for Dr. Roan's current seat, and all three individuals have also expressed a desire to serve.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Dukes? All right, hearing none, I'm going to open the floor up for nominations, and I'm going to start with the term currently held by Dr. Brian Griner. So are there any nominations?
Dr. Brian Griner.
Okay, we have a nomination for Dr. Brian Griner. Do we have any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll close the nominations, and Dr. Brian Griner will be reappointed by acclamation. We'll now do the term of Dr. John Roan. Are there any nominations for that seat?
Dr. John Roan.
Okay, we have Dr. John Roan. Are there any others? Hearing none, we'll close the nominations, and Dr. John Roan as well will be reappointed by acclamation. Thank you, Commissioners. Agenda item 8A is our first public hearing item. This is REZ 2022-13. This is the Hunter property. It's located at Madison Highway. It is currently EA. The request is for CC. It has county water and septic, and this involves 2 acres?
7 acres, sir.
7 acres?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Yes, thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Dillard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Again, this request is from EA to CC on approximately 7 acres. The applicant would then like to turn around and subdivide 2 of those 7 acres for development. I'll show that here in just a moment. As you can see, the property is within an agricultural and forestry character area in which CC is a recommended zoning. It also is within the urban service area, having county water only. There are some wetlands on a portion of this property, though the subject 2 acres is not contained in any of these wetlands. There is commercial zoning to the north and south, as you can see here, and they were rezoned all the way back in 2014 and 19. You also note Clyaville Elementary across the street there. This is the 7 acres in its entirety. This is a survey of these total 7 acres with the proposed 2 acres to be subdivided. That would potentially look like this, with all 7 acres being zone CC and the 2 acres being potential development. Staff has not had a specific use, though we have been informed that it could possibly be a restaurant. There is an adjacent CC zoning from 2019 where a barbecue restaurant, currently a walk-up only, may decide to expand into a full sit-down. That is the only potential use we have heard at this time. Any other commercial use would have to go through commercial plan review and a meeting with the TRC. But staff found the request consistent with the comprehensive plan and the surrounding land use, and Planning Commission recommended approval 7-0.
Any questions for Mr. Dillard? Okay, we'll open up the public hearing portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this? Anyone that would like to speak in favor? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Frank Hunter, and I'd just like to speak in favor of approval for the zoning change.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hunter, what is your address for the record?
My address is 463 Palmwood Lane, Atlantic Beach, Florida.
Okay.
Just like to speak in favor of the approval for the request for change. Sounds like it's going to go forward all right, but I'd like to say we appreciate the work of the commission in researching these matters and taking action. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this request? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting, and Commissioners, I'll turn it back over to you for your consideration.
I want to be clear, Mr. Chairman, that we're not talking about simply rezoning the 2 acres to CC. We're talking about rezoning all 7 acres to CC.
Yes, I was thinking that it was just the 2 acres. That's my error, and it is the full 7 acres.
And
There
this-
seems to be, excuse me, some confusion on this, not only with us, but with the little community, of the Jumping Gully community. And I think we should table this request till we get all this cleared up in everybody's mind.
Okay? You want to put
Motion
that
to
in the
table.
form of a motion?
Motion to table.
Okay, we have a motion to table. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion on the motion? We'll call the vote to table. Signify by raising your right hand, please. Okay, so the motion carries. We will table this to which meeting? Our next meeting?
Your choice.
No, sir, it's your choice. It was your motion.
Next meeting or the meeting after, whatever works better with,
Call it next
with
meeting.
our agendas.
Well, I see no problem with the next meeting.
Okay?
Is
Next
that
meeting.
okay with you?
Next meeting.
Next meeting, okay? All right, then we'll move on now to agenda item 8B, and this is REZ 2022-14. This is Ben Beasley. It's located at River Road, R21 to RA, County Water and Septic, and this involves 13 acres. Mr. Dillon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this is a request on a portion of the property. It is currently R21, and I'll explain the portion in just a moment. The request is from R21 to RA. You see it in the future character area as in suburban character area, with also the urban service area, again, county utilities being water only at this point. There are a small portion of wetlands on the rear of the property. And the intent here is to take the property that was subdivided by a minor subdivision approximately 3 or 4 weeks ago, rezone the portion you see hatched here, which is the 13 acres in question, from R21 to RA. This portion is then intended to be subdivided further using the family ties provision of the ULDC. Now, the suburban character area predominantly focuses on moderate density with a greater focus on traditional neighborhood development, though RA zoning is listed as permitted within a suburban character area. There are various residential zoning districts throughout the area. The existing rural character of the area should be considered, and the use of family ties to subdivide the property. There's also the requirement to connect to county water as it is within 1,000 feet of the subject property. The TRC had no other technical objections, and staff found the request consistent with the comprehensive plan. The Planning Commission had questions regarding family ties provisions and the time frame in which lots are to be conveyed, and ultimately recommended approval 4-3.
Any questions for Mr. Dillard?
Oh, yes, Mr. Chairman, I was just looking at that letter of intent that's in here. It says I won't subdivide based on family ties. I'm trying to kind of get what that means, because I realize you say it was going to be,
This is in the applicant's handwriting. The applicant is here, if you'd like to ask, but this is the letter of intent that was submitted to us. We did ask for further clarification. This is what we received.
oh, you want to. Oh, I thought it was don't want.
Will not.
Yeah, okay.
It's,
All right.
it's in the letter of intent portion. Yeah.
So what you're saying, you were interpreting that he did not want to.
That's what I was
But he does
interpreting.
actually want to.
Yeah, just,
And you're talking about confusion, now that one's confusing.
well, yeah, I see the letter. Nothing against your handwriting.
W-A-N-T versus
Nothing against
W-O-N-T.
your handwriting, yeah.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments?
Do we know, sorry, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Benjamin Beasley is the applicant.
Correct. He's the applicant care of Ethel Floyd, who is the property owner for this particular piece.
Okay, but the citizen making the inquiry is listed as Rebecca Beasley.
As far as the
on
family ties,
certification.
yes, sir, you're correct.
Do we know Rebecca's relationship to Mr. Benjamin?
I believe Miss Rebecca is his wife.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions?
I still have questions, but I'd like to hear from them.
Okay,
And I guess that's why I asked, because I saw that official certification, but then I seen that handwritten letter.
okay, well, maybe we can get some of that cleared up in just a few minutes. All right, we'll move into the public hearing portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition?
It's a handout.
In opposition to? If you are, please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Marcus Campbell, and I live at 4386 River Road. this property that's asked to be rezoned joins my property on the west side. And I got a letter last week about it coming up for rezoning. And I'm really, someone told me he wanted to open a trailer park over there. So that concerned me. And most of the houses and parcels out there, there's some mobile homes all scattered in between, but a lot of people get a mobile home, build a house later, and so forth. So I just want to make sure we ain't got a whole bunch of people over there renting mobile homes, and the weather get bad, where they going? So I want y'all to consider.
Good. All right, sir. Any questions for Mr. Campbell? All right, thank you, Mr. Campbell. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition to this request? Okay, hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this request? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Benjamin Beasley, 4813 Springbrook Drive, Hayhire, Georgia. I am Miss Rebecca's husband and happy to answer any of y'all's questions. These lots are being subdivided for my wife's children, that she is the direct granddaughter of Miss Floyd. And right now, these children are very young, and we do not want to give them full reign. So the lots are going to go to my wife, and when she sees that the children ain't going to, do crazy stuff, then she'll give them over to them. But at this time, we would like these lots just to go. We ain't gonna start no trailer park. We ain't doing none of that. So right now, we just want these lots to be subdivided for the grandchildren. So, but first, they're gonna go to my wife, Rebecca.
Okay, well, maybe that clears up a little bit of it then, from that standpoint.
We want to subdivide them. I don't know where that confusion come in at, but we want to, just those few lots.
Okay,
How old are the kids now?
22, two 20-year-olds and a 16-year-old.
Because understand, if I might, Mr. Beasley, is that, the confusion and all, is certainly family ties is utilized in the county for just that.
Right.
It's not to be utilized for a process to circumvent the subdivision regulations.
Yes, sir.
So we're a little bit cautious when we have something such as this. As the previous speaker would say, I mean, when you subdivide property and you do it with family ties, then we expect it to be family.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's family,
Okay.
100%.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this request? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting, and I'll turn it back over to the commissioners for your consideration.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, what's to prevent them from selling those lots? Once they're deeded and recorded, I mean, we're not gonna go back and look and see if he sells them. I mean, I appreciate his intent, I hear what he says and all that, but I just think we've gotta be real careful not to be subdividing property, whether it's his intention or not, but I mean, this could really be a slippery slope if we start busting up parcels against our own policy for family ties, only to find out that, now they're being sold off to other individuals. So how do we monitor that?
Well, it's a difficult thing because, again, if Mr. Beasley's direction is as he is stating, and eventually the children grandchildren gets their lot, there is nothing to keep them from selling the lot. I mean, the purpose of what we're doing is what's before us right now, and you have to take that into consideration of whether or not the family ties is applicable, that works for this purpose of subdivision right now.
I mean, it's just unusual, because usually we have a parent that comes in and says, hey, you know, this is for my son Max, and this is for my daughter Maxine, and, you know, and it's kind of cut and dry. But in this case, I mean, we don't even know, I mean, is there a child identified or a grandchild identified for each? I don't want to put you on the spot, Mr. Dillard, but I mean, do you feel like that you have enough information in the application that justifies, I know I'm putting you on the spot.
The application as written is somewhat lacking to your point, identifying clearly who these individuals are. Mr. Beasley did present the ages of these children, and I believe they are the grandchildren of Miss Floyd. I don't know if they are the great-grandchildren. I was not 100% clear on that. Grandchildren are allowed. Great-grandchildren are not allowed based on the ULDC as far as family ties. So
Great-grandchildren or grandchildren?
great-grandchildren are not listed as permitted. Grandchildren, yes. So with that perspective, I only have the application that says 5 grandchildren are to receive these lots. And that's all I have the information to go off of.
Mr.
And
Dillard,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
also, if we rezone it this way and split lots up this way, they're not required to hook on the water and sewer per the ULDC, correct?
They are exempt. Family ties does exempt plating requirements and county utility requirements, as well as infrastructure, so long as they meet the other standards of family ties. I believe that information is in your packets. But yes, there are numerous times when a 60-foot easement or shared driveway is used, thus creating more or less what we would consider a substandard lot. In this case, RA zoning is a minimum 2.5-acre lot as presented, and this is, again, just an example. These are 1-acre lots. So while, yes, the 1-acre lot is larger than the surrounding R21 would allow, it would still be smaller than the 2.5 that RA would require, but that is allowed under family ties.
I would raise also a question in regards to, as this is right now, the way I see it, there is one way to this property, and these would be creating flag lots, and that would be a road. Would family ties, how would our road regulations on subdivisions tie into this as well?
This is one of the exemptions within family ties as far as roads being a 60-foot road frontage and a common shared driveway. So again, to Commissioner Ornstein's concern of selling after the fact, yes, if you have a shared driveway and you have a lot that is some sort of dispute between any future owner, it could create a possibility or hardship for someone else, county included, as far as if infrastructure was to be paved after the fact.
So the egress and ingress would be considered as a driveway, not a road to service these subdivided lots?
It basically ended up being a private road.
I'm sorry?
It basically ended up being a private road.
Yes. Yeah.
Technically, I mean, if you really want to get into it, technically, that whole piece of property, if you look there, that whole strip coming down is owned by the 7.904. So whoever lives on that lot actually has ownership of that property running all the way out to River Road, and those other lots are landlocked.
Well, that'd
They
have
would
to
have
be
to have
granted
an easement.
access.
Yeah, they'd have to have an easement.
But I mean, I'm just saying, if it were recorded under this
Sure, yeah.
scenario, then you've got landlocked lots.
Sure.
But I will say at the same time, I mean, it's our rule. I mean, we have a family ties rule that,
Correct.
you know, I know we're looking into. So you know, in his defense too, I want to be careful that we don't speculate and make assumptions and go against our own policy.
Is this something that also possibly could be taken care of with a will?
Well, I think even with that, it still is going to require the subdivision of the property. If they're going to will it
Eventually.
that away, it's still going to
If
require
they want to
that.
make an official plat, but I was just thinking along, if the goal is to leave it to the kids, leaving it to them in a will.
Okay. Have I closed the public hearing portion of this meeting, or do we just jump into discussions? If I haven't, I am. And if you've got anything else to add, then we'll take it. Other than that, I'll turn it back over to the commissioners for your consideration.
Mr. Chairman, seeing that, I don't feel we have a valid reason to deny this, I recommend approval.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Motion fails for a lack of second. I'll consider another motion.
Motion to deny.
We have a motion to deny. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. Would please raise your right hand if you're in favor of the motion. All right, that's 3. And we have 5, so then the motion carries. Which the motion is to deny the request.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 9A, and this is the annual contract renewal for mosquito identification and testing. Ms. Cumbus.
Yes, sir. Like you said, this was an annual contract renewal for the trapping, identifying, and testing of mosquitoes. And with that data, we monitor our treatment program and make any necessary adjustments.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Cumbus? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion carries. Agenda item 9B is the acceptance of the FY23 Juvenile Justice Incentive Grant. Mr. Ty?
Good evening. As we discussed yesterday, this is a approval of the execution documents for the Juvenile Justice Incentive Grant that y'all approved staff to submit earlier this year. This is a continuation of the grant we've had for, I believe this is our 9th year funding this program. So we're just asking your authorization for the chairman and staff to sign the documents so we can accept the award and continue the program. Be glad to answer any questions you have about the grant.
Any questions for Mr. Ty? Thank you, Mr. Ty. Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Motion to approve. We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Agenda item 10, County Manager's Report. Ms. Dukes. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I jumped. 9C, the abandonment of a portion of Boring Pond Lane. Ms. Dukes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of Mr. McLeod, who is not feeling well tonight, you have before you a consideration for an abandonment of the portion of Boring Pond Lane. In 2019, when the county paved the road there was 2 90-degree turns that were removed. The portions of the right-of-way highlighted in yellow before you are no longer needed. So this would be the commission's first step if you choose to abandon that right-of-way. So the first determination you can make, or the second, or both, that the section of county road system has for any reason ceased to be used by the public to the extent that no public purpose is served by it, or that its removal from the road system is otherwise in the best public interest. If the commission chooses to move forward with one of those determinations or both, then staff will move forward with advertising, and this will be back before you for a public hearing.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Dukes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve
What?
the abandonment of the road because it's no longer needed and does not serve a public service.
Very well. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Agenda item 10, County Manager's Report. Ms. Dukes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have good news tonight. I asked Ms. Cumbus this afternoon for an update on our fuel cost, and our fuel is lower than it has been since the end of May. So currently, the county is paying $3.18 for unleaded and $3.96 for diesel, and that is down significantly since my last report on the fuel. So we're all very excited about that. We have 3 projects that are out for bid and one that is close. The first is the Griner Property Park. the LAS maintenance shop, and then a process that is the rehab of some manholes for utilities. Those projects are currently out for bid. Then the pump station for Second Harvest is nearly ready for bid. They're in doing some research there. The property that Second Harvest is going to build on near the interstate for their new location, there was an old land swap between a property owner and the county for some right-of-way, and a part of that was that the county would put in a pump station if the property ever developed. So that card has been called, and so we will be bidding that out. In anticipation of the logistics officer position and the remodeling of the second floor for permits and inspections, the fire marshal mission is moving to the third floor. So we are out of room at Station 10, which Chief Green's in the back. I think that we're all mourning having to move the fire marshal and the inspectors out of the fire department. They are an integral part of Chief Green's team, but logistics officers got to move in, so you all will see the fire marshal and 2 inspectors on the finance side of the third floor, some and maybe in your conference room for a little plan review. And then they will move downstairs as soon as that remodel is complete. The end of last week, I toured the BEMA station with South Georgia Medical Center EMS. They are moving in this week. If you all remember, we had a SPLOST project there that rebuilt the fire side, and then we remodeled the old fire side for EMS. So they are moving in now, and they have approved that footprint and would like for you all to consider the same co-location for the new station at North Lounge. So with your blessing, we'll move forward with that in that bid. We are also working on expanding probation in Leela Ellis since Hopwa has moved out. There's a remodel there and some preparation for Ms. Roundtree and her staff, and then following that, we will start the remodel of the old DOT building to move the coroner in. You may have noticed on the Griner property that the old office that the coroner was in is gone. He is temporarily located at the sheriff's office, but we will remodel the old DOT building, so he'll still be on the law enforcement campus, but in his own space. And with that, we are pursuing some funding options that we'll come back to you with for some cooler space. Currently, the county's paying a fair amount for storage. Whenever we have someone that's deceased that cannot stay at the hospital or at a funeral home, and we need to measure and compare the cost of putting in our own coolers for temporary storage for the coroner. Ms. Cumbus and her team, and through what Ms. Barwick has worked on advertising, has resulted in our citizens bringing 5,175 tires in for this round of the Scrap Tire Grant. That means that those things are not in our waterways, on our roadways, or in everyone's yard breeding mosquitoes, hence the issue and the need for the mosquito control contract testing there. The last thing that I have for you, and we have a short presentation, Chairman, if you would let us humor you there. Since January, Public Works has collected 4,514 bags of trash on our roadways. And if you drive through the county, it's beautiful, Robin. They are doing a fantastic job. They're staying ahead of the mowers. It looks really good. We are getting 0 complaints from citizens where that's concerned. This morning, the chairman and I met with the litter crew at Public Works, and we had a presentation for them. Among you all, we all have our passions as it relates to our services, and one of you has a significant passion where litter control and the cleanliness of our roadways is concerned. So, Commissioner Weisenbaker, we presented the litter crew this morning with shirts to help them with the sun and so that they don't get run over. Okay. So we would like to make you an honorary member of our litter crew and present you with a shirt as well. And thank you for keeping us informed of what we do.
Now, honorary doesn't mean that you can't pick up trash.
Oh, I was wondering about that.
Y'all know he's too old to be wandering around the side of the highway.
That's okay. As long as he keeps driving and calling, we're good to go.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you for your passion, because it has meant a lot as far as just getting all of this started. It's extremely important in our community that we do keep our roadways as clean as we possibly can, not just for the visitors, but for the citizens that live here. So again, it's something that I was very, very proud once we stood that up and once it got started. I get calls all the time from people that lives on a road that sees that litter crew that's just calling and thanking me for the fact that we have that litter crew picking up trash. So it's a good thing.
That concludes my report.
Good job.
Okay. All right, commissioners, any questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.